Michelle, you're welcome.
Good evening. Today is Monday, December 3rd, 2018. This is a meeting of the board workshop. We have two topics we're going to discuss tonight. One is our energy performance contract, and the other is we're going to talk a little bit about the IMA agreement with the town of Eastchester to acquire Siwanoy Boulevard. But if we can first start, please, with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Lee, did you want to just give a little introduction first? We'll start.
So we have with us tonight Allison Seep of Energy Systems Group, who is here to talk about what an energy performance contract is, what we can do with it as a district, why we might consider using it. The district has gone out for an RFP to take a look at contractors that might want to work with us, and Energy Systems Group was the group that did provide a proposal for us. So tonight, Allison is here to tell us about what the project is and how we might use it.
Okay, so I'm Allison Seip. I'm the account executive for this project. Steve Castriata is our project manager. Thank you very much for allowing us to come here today to talk about energy performance contracting. So we're going to talk about what is energy performance contracting, what it is, why would you want to use it, what's the process, and where are we today and where are we going in the future, and what are the potential benefits for the school district. So I just wanted to start by talking about the legislature. I want to make sure that you understand that there's state legislature in place that supports energy performance contracting, which enables school districts to pay for facility improvements through energy and operational savings. There's copies of the legislature in the brochures, which you can read, but bullet number 4 basically describes what energy performance contracting, what the definition is of energy performance contracting, and then item 8 explains district-specific, school district-specific legislature. So, and there's a couple of innuendos where there's an 18-year payback requirement for school districts. This law was put in place for municipalities and school districts, so I just want to make sure you understand that there's slight differences. It also states that the energy performance contractor must guarantee these savings in writing, or write a check back to the district if there's shortfalls. So that helps cover the risk for the school districts. So I'm going to try to explain energy performance contracting in a very high-level way. I'm going to try to go about it 2 different ways, and hopefully you'll understand, because it is a difficult concept to understand. So say this is your budget. I know there's a lot more items that go into a school budget than 5 little boxes or 6 little boxes. So you have your debt service, which is capital projects, bonds, what have you. Then you have your energy budget, right? Oil, gas, utilities. Then maybe chemicals to run the facilities, like water treatment and oil and things like that nature. Then there's operational costs, and then there's also labor costs. So what we're going to do is replace some of the equipment with energy efficient equipment, so that then your budget will go to this. So you'll be saving a sliver in energy. You'll be saving a sliver in, say, chemicals or something else. Could be even IT related. And you're going to save something in operational savings. Like a good analogy with operational savings could be replacing LED light bulbs. So we would convert to LED. Those light bulbs last 15 years versus a couple years. So there's going to be operational savings involved with that type of a project. So then, and if you want to do facility improvements, you could take those savings and then use those savings to pay down debt for a major project. And that major project will incorporate a lot of little tiny projects. Now it says cash positive or neutral. The state law states that you can be cash positive, cash neutral, or dip cash negative, but with an overall 18-year payback, cash positive or neutral. So you can dip a little negative for a couple of years if you want to, and then end up, neutral at the end. So just want to make sure you're aware of that, because probably 95% of the cases with school districts, it's cash positive or cash neutral. but you can, by law, dip negative if you choose so. So the other way I'd kind of describe this, not that we work in the residential market, but say you own your house and you need a new furnace, and you've been paying a lot of money for repairs for that furnace. It's killing you. So you know you have to replace it. But it's going to cost $15,000 to replace that furnace, and you don't have the money to do that. So say you go to Lowe's or Home Depot, and they say, okay, well, we're running a program. What are you paying right now for your utility costs? Gas, electric. Say you're paying like $500 a month in utilities. So they say, okay, well, we're going to come and look at your whole house, top to bottom, and then we're going to sit down and meet with you later. So they come in later and meet with you, and they say, not only are we going to replace that furnace, but we're also going to change out all your lighting to LED. We're going to put some solar thermal for your hot water system on the roof, and we're going to insulate the attic and the basement in some spots that we see that are bare. And we guarantee you that your utility bills will go down to $300 a month. But the $200 a month that you're saving then goes to pay down the mortgage or the debt for those improvements that you're getting today, for the furnace, for the solar hot water system. That's kind of the way it works. Do you have any questions? Does it make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's kind of how it works. And I would like this to be open, so if you have questions along the way, please ask me. So why do something different? So you get to do capital improvements with no out-of-pocket costs. Okay, you get to reduce your energy use, your capital budget, your operating budget. It's a creative financing mechanism. I'll talk a little bit about financing later. We can add a link to your homepage where we can talk about before and after pictures, environmental benefits, trees planted, cars taken off the road, greenhouse gas emission reduction, carbon reduction. So we can try to display to the community the benefits of the EPC. It's a turnkey project, so we're with you from the very start to the very end. So this is basically, you hear a lot about design build versus design bid build. This is truly design build. And we minimize the procurement management of small little projects. So you might say, okay, well, I'm going to put in my capital budget to do a boiler this year. 6 months later, I'm going to change out some of the lighting, and then 3 months after that, I'm going to maybe do some other work. So you have to manage the procurement of all those different projects. Whereas under energy performance contracting, you can kind of roll it all into one, where we're taking quick payback projects like lighting and combining it with a longer-term project like boilers. We're combining it together for an overall less than 18-year payback. So that's kind of the idea. So, and you're going to have a long-term energy management and maintenance program. And we all know that we're all under the tax cap, right? Municipal and districts are under tax cap, so it's hard to increase taxes in order to pay for projects. So what are some of the benefits? Like I said, capital improvements without increasing taxes or going out to bond. Annual savings can either equal or exceed the project cost, or like I said, you can dip negative for a couple of years. You can reallocate capital funds earmarked for those improvements. So say you already have it in your budget to do a boiler, or you have it in your budget to do some lighting. Now you can reallocate those funds for other projects. Environmental stewardship, as I mentioned, that we can promote this with ribbon cutting ceremonies and all kinds of PR for the community. Design build partnership, which is the way most folks are going these days. They're getting rid of design bid build. They're going to design build. There's a lot of benefits to that. And it's an interesting financing mechanism through a lease purchase agreement. Positive marketing and PR, as I mentioned. We can leverage all the free money out there. Grants and rebates and incentives are available through your local utility or through NYSERDA. We leverage all of those. And then bottom line is it's a nicer work environment for the children and the faculty. So here's the process. So KG&D put out a procurement with the school district. We responded to the school district's procurement with a business case and a financial pro forma. The next step is we submitted a project development agreement to the district, which I believe that the attorneys are reviewing right now. The project development agreement states that we'll move forward to a comprehensive energy audit where we're really spending time and money engineering and putting together this project. So the project development agreement basically states that if we put together a project that's suitable for the district financially, that they're going to move forward with the project, or there could be a small breakup fee. Our deliverable is going to include the project scope, hard construction costs, operational savings, all those calculations, how we're going to guarantee the project, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, the construction schedule, commissioning and startup. We're going to work hand in hand with your financial advisor to help you with financing, if that's what you so choose to do so. You're going to have a facilities maintenance plan, staffing and training, and ongoing support. Once we submit the comprehensive energy audit to the district, which we're going to work with that also with KG&D, because we want to make sure we're coordinating with the capital project as well. So we're going to coordinate with them. Once we submit that, then we're going to meet with you and figure out what's going to be in the project and what's not going to be in the project. We're going to come up with the final project. And then we'll go to final project scope, and we'll go to contract. And then we'll have to submit to the SED for approval. And then we're thinking in 2020, we can go to construction. Any questions? Okay. So these are some of the ECMs, and I know there's a lot of acronyms in this. There's EPC, which is Energy Performance Contract or Contractor. ECMs are Energy Conservation Measures. So they're the mini projects that make up the overall scope of work. So right now we're looking at interior and exterior lighting upgrades to LED within the high school, middle school, and whatever is remaining in Caudal that's not covered under the capital project. Interior lighting controls, so that lights aren't on 24/7. You want to make sure you're controlling the lighting system. Right now, the emergency egress lighting is not up to code, so we're going to make sure it's up to code and replace it. We're looking at boiler replacement as well as boiler controls. Plug load controls is basically these little controllers that go on the vending machines to make sure the vending machines go to sleep at night and they're not cooling things 24/7 when the kids aren't here. We noticed that some valve and piping insulation is missing. We're going to install new building automation systems in both the buildings. Building automation systems are basically the central nervous system of a building. So with the building automation system, we know how much energy each piece of equipment is using, when it's on, when it's off, we can schedule it. And right now, the building automation systems are pretty much dysfunctional. We're going to install one that's web-based. So basically, your facilities director, anywhere he is at any time, can control the building. If it's a snow day, he can make sure certain things are on or off, what have you. He can do that remotely. So that's going to save energy as well. The steam piping system within this building has a lot of leaks. So we're going to repair those leaks. And we're also going to repair the steam traps or replace the steam traps. Steam traps are a huge source of energy waste. You have over 240 or 270 steam traps within this building. So we're going to replace all of them and give you replacement parts in 7 years down the road so you can replace parts and pieces of them. Wherever we do have to cut out sections of the steam piping to replace that section, we're going to do asbestos abatement in that area. The radiators in the hallways, we're going to install wireless radiator controls. We're also going to put controls in the rooftop units. I think there's one that services the library. Demand control ventilation. SED only allows you to do demand control ventilation in the gymnasiums. Basically what that does is rather than introducing a lot of fresh air all the time, you're looking at the carbon dioxide levels in the gym and comparing that to oxygen levels so that you're bringing in the right amount of fresh air and not too much fresh air, because it costs a lot of money to condition that fresh air to whatever temperature you need to bring it to enter it into the room. So we're going to do demand control ventilation in both the gyms. And then walk-in box controls are controls for the freezers. You know, some of these items are little, but all these little items kind of add up. And then we're also looking at solar PV at the high school. The other thing we have to look at in the CEA phase, I have IT communications up here in the corner and more building envelope stuff or building system stuff. So we're going to meet with the IT department because changing out switches, server consolidation, those types of activities within the IT realm also can save energy. So we're looking forward to meeting with them. So as far as construction phase, we are the design build contractor. We're going to be here on site all the time supervising the project. Wick's Law does not apply under energy performance contracting. I also think it's important to note that we are vendor and manufacturer agnostic. So we don't manufacture a certain product line, whether it's mechanical systems or control systems. We want to install the best product possible because we're guaranteeing the savings. So we want to make sure it's energy efficient and it's going to last for 18 years at least, because we're guaranteeing the savings. The district is not tied to low bid of equipment, so if somebody comes in with inadequate equipment that doesn't meet our standards, we can eliminate them, even though they're low bidder. And then the district, of course, has input as to what subcontractors we hire. If there's a subcontractor that you really, really like, we will allow them to bid on that portion of the work. If there's somebody, on the other hand, that you've had a really bad experience with, we will not allow them to participate in the solicitation. And the nice thing about EPC is there's no change orders. I mean, really, your risk is so, so limited in energy performance contracting. So the savings and the guarantee. So we had to guarantee the savings. How does this work? So there's an international standard called IPMVP. We follow IPMVP. We're working with KG&D and OLA, where we're going to have baseline calculations and bongo drums. Baseline calculations that they're going to double check and verify, and we're all going to agree upon that baseline. And from there, we have to guarantee the savings off that baseline, which KG&D will be acting as the owner's rep to make sure that you're achieving the savings that we say that you're going to achieve. So every year on an annual basis, we're going to provide a report called an M&V report, which shows the savings and verifies the savings, and KG&D will then review that report and make sure it's in sync. We're going to define the roles and responsibilities of ourselves and the district as part of the guarantee, and any shortfalls that are seen, we will cut you guys a check. So just in summary, we have enabling legislation in New York State. We're very, very fortunate in our state to have solid EPC legislation. Turnkey service, this is design build project. The design build project consists of these little ECMs, these little mini projects that incorporate the entire overall project. We can help you with the project financing if you want us to work with your financial advisor. We can help solicit RFPs for financing, and we guarantee the outcome. So nobody had any questions along the way? I don't know if you have any questions.
I do. So in terms of that guarantee of savings, are there any sort of loopholes or caveats where you can get out of that? For example, if, let's just say, for reasons that none of us have control of, the cost of energy cut us in, or gas goes way up due to geopolitical reasons or whatever it may be, and that eats into that savings. Is that savings still guaranteed?
The savings is still guaranteed. So we do put in an escalation for, a normal escalation for energy increases. It's usually like 3% a year or something like that,
Right,
2 or 3%.
right.
So we agree to that initially.
Right.
If energy prices go through the roof, I mean,
You're still
we're
guaranteeing
still
what you
guaranteeing
agreed on.
savings, yeah.
Right. Okay.
I have a question. I believe before you mentioned in terms of how the project comes together and how you do your assessment, it sounds like that's already happened. I think you mentioned that if we had agreed upon project of whatever you propose, which ones we want to go forward with, that would then have to be presented and be approved. And then I believe you said you would start construction 2020. So I guess my question is, if we're going to be doing a fair amount of the work in 19, why wouldn't, there's no way that could be like synced together?
The majority of the work under the capital project is in Caudal. The majority of our work is here in the high school, middle school. However, you know, the SCD process is the SCD process, unfortunately. And right now, they're out 42 weeks. If we were to use an expedited service, we might be able to shorten that tremendously. But that's a decision that we're going to have to make with the school district if we want to go that
So that's
way.
something we would talk about, because in my mind, right, if there was a way to expedite
Yeah, I
it,
thought the same
so
thing.
that why we're doing some of the
Yep.
work down there, because you mentioned the lighting, which certainly down there could be upgraded, and they have some equipment as well. I would think.
But I think we
you'd
are
wanna have it
planning
at
on
the same time.
upgrading that stuff, I think, right? The traditional way, just paying it through the capital project, right? So we're doing some of that work down there, it's just not
Yeah, I
being
think
done
that's
through this
where,
process.
that was my question.
I'd rather do
Yes.
the energy
You bring up a
efficiency
really good point. So we've already had conversations with KG&D, and we're trying to schedule a meeting, talk with them, especially about lighting. Lighting is one of the things that we have to coordinate. We don't want, you know, a yellow light next to a white light, you know, one room over. So we want to make sure all the fixtures are consistent, especially for facilities group, because they don't want to have to stock a whole bunch of different types of bulbs, right? So that's the most important thing probably that we have to coordinate is the lighting.
And so if we began major construction in June, July, we probably won't have a structure until October, September, October. If we figured out what we wanted to do here and which part of that affects Caudal, the sooner we figure that out, the better, so that it can get submitted to the state and get approved, so when they're doing that work, right?
Right. We want to make sure this is, and this happens all the time, where you have an EPC project in conjunction with a capital project. There just has to be coordination.
Yeah, I'd hate for that to be delayed because we have energy opportunity to save with this, or we put up temporary lighting that we're going to pay for to take down in 6 months.
No. Everything will be coordinated. Everything will be coordinated.
We've actually presented the contractors doing the capital work with the material, and they had installed it, but it was covered underneath, under our energy performance contract.
So is there an established project at this point, or list of,
We have a list.
is there a
and
budget for that as to what?
There's a
that-
preliminary budget, but we have to go deeper into the list to see what it is that will, in our list, can be paid for within the 18 years of energy savings so that it will come out cost neutral. So that we have to kind of back into it. And then we'll take a look at that list. I mean, I know, for example, that the district very much wants to replace the 2 boilers in this building. Those have a very long payback period, and so we have to make sure that all the other projects can cover costs like that. So what Allison and her team will be doing, if we go ahead with this agreement that we're looking with our lawyers to go forward with, they'll do a complete assessment and see what it is they can put into the buildings that will pay for the other projects that we want. Then we would bring that to the board and show the board what we're looking to do, and we can give you a whole analysis of what we're proposing at that point.
Right. And just like you went through with the capital project where they give you different choices, right?
Right.
Option A, option B, at the Caudal, here, we can do the same thing. So
Does that type of project need public approval or just board approval?
It only needs board approval unless we choose to, we can do it either way. If we can do it just with board approval, and then we get our basic state aid from the state into this project, which is approximately 14%. If we choose to ask the public for approval, which we can talk about as a board, and the board can talk about and decide, we would be entitled to an additional 10% of state aid, which would allow us to do a little more project work as well. And then we would possibly have to consider how we would, when and how we would present that to the public if we choose to go that route as well.
Right. But I think the important thing is to communicate that it's debt neutral, because it pays for
Absolutely.
itself in the savings. I mean, I think it's great. I mean, it's a really creative way to finance in this day and age when we really can. If we all recall that we had some of these projects on our original capital project that went down and was eliminated from the second bond, and we really went out the second time really with what we really needed to have right now, which was the additional classrooms at Caudal and the security measures. There is some infrastructure work there, but it does not replace the boilers. It does not have, and that was millions of dollars worth of work. So I think really it sounds like a win-win to me, and a great way to be creative with the financing to get these types, these are not the things that, even in your own home, you hate to spend money on these kinds of things, but you have to have them, they're not for us to then be able to use our resources in the classroom and for the students, I think is a win-win all around. So I think it sounds great.
No, it sounds great. Just so I'm totally for it, but just so I understand exactly how it works. What's the magic for the 18 years? Is there some sort of magic to that number? Is that dictated by?
no, it's dictated by who came up with the 18
Yeah.
years. It's an SAD thing.
Oh, so and it's 18 years for everybody. It's
18 years
not
for all school
case by
districts.
case. It's all school districts.
Right.
Okay.
And not only that, solar has to stand on its own with an 18-year payback individually.
Okay.
So,
And if the savings that we experience exceed expectations,
you benefit.
we benefit.
There's no shared
We get-
savings. You
we get
benefit
the extra
100%.
savings. Okay. But if they're right on point, we don't see really any, obviously the advantage is we don't pay any money out, but we don't see anything different month to month if it's the savings of what you expect, but we get all the new work
Right.
18 years out. Okay.
And if the savings aren't there, you guarantee the savings.
We guarantee the savings and cut you a check.
Okay.
So one last question really for Lee. if some of these projects, it turns out we're able to review this, look at it, and some of these things were in our capital, our current project, I would imagine this would replace it potentially, and then how would that affect
The only
state
thing,
aid?
the only thing that we asked the energy performance teams to look at in our original request was after the capital project had been already spec'd out. So there's nothing overlapping
There's nothing.
in here. We're looking at all new types of things that we did not include in the original capital project. So these are all the things we eliminated at the time. We said, let's eliminate them and possibly work through this kind of mechanism to finance them.
So say, I feel like I'm beating this up, but I just want to make sure it's clear to me. So say we decided that we like the idea with the lighting, they're putting up, I think they were putting up energy efficient lighting to begin with, but if the lower, like say the fifth grade, the first floor, we would
Everything,
replace that. Now,
they're specking out the new addition as well as the ceilings below. So we would coordinate with KG&D to make sure the rest of the building was getting the same lighting as what was being put into that, whatever they're doing in the capital project.
and that
So
would
it'll-
reduce the state aid amount? So I would imagine like those pieces of that work, now necessarily we wouldn't have to pay for because it could be
No.
covered by
No,
that.
no, that's still in the capital project.
Okay.
This is everything that we didn't include in the
But this would
capital project. This is
coordinate
the
with
rest
it.
of the building. So that area is already part of the capital project, and it's staying in there. And then this is new, and this will be the rest of the building, which we didn't put in the capital project, and as well as this building.
I do, if forgive me, I had to step out for a brief moment. You may have covered this, third-party review. So we just gained approval for our capital project. We're very pleased with that. We used a third-party review system that New York State offered. We were one
Right.
of the first.
Right.
Is that something possible
Yep.
to do?
Yes,
So if-
absolutely.
That is an option for us to pay a
Yes.
bit extra, but expedite that process. You said it's a 42 or 46?
Right
week
now,
wait?
SCD approval's out 42 weeks.
42.
Yeah, it is what it is,
Okay.
unfortunately.
When we reach that point in the discussions, we can come back to the board and give you information on what it would cost to do the expedited review and whether that would make sense in terms of the type of projects when we would start them and if we would like to start them sooner.
Why does this make sense for ESG? Like, how does this work for you guys? How do you make money on this?
In the construction, I mean, we get our little construction fee is
Okay.
built into the project.
Right.
And KG&D, their fee is built into the project as well.
Okay.
So KG&D is getting paid through you guys, or we would have to pay them as separate?
No, it's that, those costs are built into the project.
So cost
As
of built
well.
into the project and paid for over the 18 years through the savings.
Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, sounds
Good.
Thank
Thank you
All right,
very
thank
much.
you,
Thank
Allison.
you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Very nice to see you again. Thank you so much,
Thank
Lee.
you so much, yes.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Thank you, Allison. Nice to meet you. Thank you.
I know we're missing one board
Yes.
member, and,
We'll make sure she goes.
We'll catch her up.
Yes,
so, yeah.
Maybe she's
If you have
watching.
any questions,
Thank you.
Yeah, it wouldn't be able to time because it has 42 weeks. That's the problem.
All right, Lee, was there anything else you wanted to add about that, or?
No, what I'll do is, I guess next steps, I'm getting their first-level agreement to our attorneys for their review, and then once they review that and they have any recommendations, we'll bring it to the board for your approval.
Sounds great.
So you're obviously in favor of it?
Yeah, I think it's an
That's your
excellent way that we
recommendation?
can do the work we need to do without having any additional cost to the district.
Yeah.
So,
Great
Great,
job.
great. I think, and Carl, I know you did send out an update to the community, but if you want to talk a little bit about what you just mentioned about us receiving the state approvals on the Caudal project on the second floor.
Sure, sure. Basically, you know, just for our community to be up to speed, we, late last week, received official approval from New York State Education Department for the Caudal project. The approval right now is for the majority of the project, which is the second story on Caudal and work underneath on the first floor. In addition, we have a second phase of the project, which includes our 2 athletic fields, the Caudal field, the high school turf field, as well as a security vestibule at the high school, and some other infrastructure, including asbestos abatement removal projects. Lee and I have met with KG&D at least 2 or 3 times on this. We are about to finalize that second portion of the plan. We will submit it to State Ed, and we expect to have approval well in advance of the time necessary to go out to bid and then start to bring on construction companies to handle all the various aspects of the project. So we are on schedule, and we're very excited to move forward. And Lee, thank you for all your efforts with this.
That's really great news.
And I can just add to that we're already starting to work with our construction management company, CalG, to look into the bidding process with KG&D, as well as coordinate the timeframes that we need to get everything moving for next summer.
Great.
And Michelle, if I could just add one other related item here. Lee and I met with the management of Siwanoy Country Club, and the board should know, and the community should know, that Siwanoy Country Club is also planning a major capital project at the same time that we are. We have a very good relationship. David Cecil is the CFO, or CEO, excuse me, of Siwanoy, and they already have a project manager. I believe they're planning to break ground early spring, around April. We plan to be in full swing by late June, early July. So we are now, the next step is to get our project managers together. Of course, we have CalG Construction. Their firm is going to join us in a meeting later this month, and we will begin to coordinate efforts. I think it's important that we have a good relationship and open communication, and what we have asked for in advance is access for some of the heavy machinery, the deliveries, the cranes. We are hoping that Siwanoy will be able to accommodate us so we can access our building from the back and avoid the street, which gets quite congested, especially around arrival and dismissal. But I think it'll be much safer, and that first meeting was very positive.
Just one more comment about this, though. Leah, I assume you already sort of dug into the numbers a little bit, but is it, I just want to make sure, I think this is a great idea, but are we going to look at the option, though, of doing all this work from a capital project? Is it possible that would actually be cheaper than doing this? What I mean by that is that if, let's say the amount of work that is going to be done is, I don't know, $5 million. I'm just throwing a number out there.
We're looking more actually about $2 million, just to
Okay,
give
$2
you a
million.
ballpark.
So, and then where that savings is going to be, if that savings exceeds what the payment would be on that capital bond, is this really the smartest way to do it? It sounds like it is, but I'm just saying, I just want to make sure that we've done our homework, and I'm sure that you do, to make sure that this is the better option, because if the savings are that great, and we do have some excess, a little bit extra money, not a lot, but we have some, and we had a bond for this, would it actually be cheaper to pay for the bond with the savings than do this?
I don't necessarily know that it's cheaper or not. The benefit to doing it this way is that we don't have to go out for financing. It's all built into the project.
Right.
And we're not, so we looked into it originally to do it as part of the capital project.
Right.
And then we thought, well, then we would keep the savings for ourselves, and that would help defray the cost of the project financing. But because the district decided to keep that project smaller and a smaller scale, it probably made sense to break it up this way. We could look into it again, but that would entail much longer time in terms of going out to do a whole nother capital project on top of the one we're already doing.
Yeah.
And when we showed the community the cost of the additional debt, I think the community was reluctant to take on additional debt that would entail for this piece.
No, I know, and I know that it included other things as well. I'm just trying to make sure that this is, I know it's easier, certainly, and upfront.
And they guarantee the savings
better.
as well. What we can
Right.
do, if it would be helpful to you, is we can have our capital markets financial advisors take a look at how the payback is on this project versus going out through a traditional capital project with financing, and we can show you what the differences might be.
Yeah, I'm not looking for like a deep dive analytical, but just sort of, just a 3-mile view of what this is going to cost and what this work would be and what we expect that it's going to save us per month.
Right.
And is it actually smarter to do it the other way?
Right.
The traditional way.
comparison.
Right.
If I understand what you're saying, is if we were to pay for it up front, let's just say, and then we would reap the savings.
Right.
rather than share it.
That's
with-
always the balance in
Right.
deciding whether to do these kind of
Right.
projects.
There's a lot of advantages to this,
Right.
and I see it. I'm not trying to be pessimistic, I'm
And I,
just
but
trying
I
to
think,
be.
yeah, I think the flip side of that
Right.
is, I think the community, when they're investing in our schools, I think would appreciate that these types of costs aren't out-of-pocket costs.
Right.
That we're not using our money, we're doing this in a more creative way, and then think of what $2 million could get us. So if we were, not if, but I think the community has shown that they are ready maybe to move on to eventually a second phase of a
Right.
capital project. Okay, that $2 million savings could get us what? 2 new cafeterias, a library, the kinds of things that, the students are actually
Yeah.
able to
No, I get
benefit
it.
from and use and
Right,
get
we
use
can
of, rather than
do that
a
bond
new
for other
boiler,
things.
which, of course, we need it, but it's not every day.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is, and I agree with you 100%, but what I'm saying is that if that $2 million cost over a 20-year bond, if the payments on that would actually be less than what we're going to save, then that's essentially a debt-neutral bond,
Right.
kind of.
Right.
But in this,
Budget-wise.
but that entails having that entire project coordinated and turnkey.
Right, right.
So
No, there's a lot of advantages
they're
logistically to
watching the
this.
numbers to make sure,
Right,
and if it's
right.
not true, they're writing us a check.
Right.
So that's that balance
Okay.
of the guarantee.
I
But
just
will
want to make
take-
sure we
I
look at
will
both
get the
sides of the
numbers for
coin and
you.
make sure this is the smartest thing. There's a lot of, even if it's exactly the same, there's a lot of smartness to doing this, and a lot of, even just when she was talking about just the procurement process.
Right.
And the coordination process being done by them and not have to be done by you and your staff, that alone is worth something as well.
Efficiency.
Yeah,
Yeah,
efficiency.
Peter, I think you make a great point, and, a company like this, the one advantage is, this is all that they do.
Right.
It's energy savings, this is their true expertise, and the state, the way they've designed this, it incentivizes districts to go this route.
Right.
But I think you're making a great point. I think, as we get a little closer and move along in this process, we should do a comparison, just to make sure, we've done our due
Yeah.
diligence and looked at it from both
Right.
angles.
And I will,
I'm sorry, Lee, another question to ask would be that within the 18 years, I would think that as technology advances and there's other types of savings to be had, do they do that, or do you have to go
that would
change
be a
your
new,
project?
that would be a new
project.
project you might do on top. You wouldn't wait 18 years necessarily to
Right.
do something new. If there's new technology, you may just do that and see what that might bring you on your own or as another project like this. And one other thing I will mention is that before this kind of project can be approved by SED, they check the calculations and make sure the savings are legitimate. They don't just rely
Right.
on the company's word for it. They have their own analysts who go and make sure that
KG&E
those...
is also doing a
Right.
check as well.
So that,
Check, yeah.
from that point of view, they're watching those numbers as well, but we'll certainly get that other information for you.
Okay, thank you.
Interesting, okay. Okay, the other thing I just wanted to talk a little bit about, at our meeting 2 weeks ago, we discussed that the Eastchester Town Board was going to pass a resolution at their last town board meeting to perform the SECRA for our Siwanoy Boulevard transfer. And the town of Eastchester is acting as a lead agency. We agreed to that, and we now found out that at tomorrow night's town board meeting, tomorrow being Tuesday, December 4th, the town board is going to pass a resolution, or there's a proposed resolution to vote on a negative declaration on the SECRA review, which means that they've gone through the process, and actually they could you explain it a little bit, Lee? It's supposed to be a 30-day process, but they reviewed it, and we agreed to that with our attorneys. So we're basically moving along at a quicker speed than we had anticipated, which is good news for us because we are anxious to move forward. We did say that at the last meeting, that at the December 17th meeting, we would have an open discussion with the public about the agreement with the town that we are considering entering into, and will be, hopefully have a resolution on the agenda for the December 17th meeting, and it will explain what the agreement is. And when we say intermunicipal agreement, it is because we are gaining something, and we are also giving. And we wanted the community to understand what the agreement was about, and if anyone had any questions, to please come forward. We also would like to, we will be able to contact our school community through Blackboard Connect, but we also want to get in touch and communicate with our residential community around us who do not have, may or may not have students in school, don't have access to Blackboard Connect if they have not signed up for the community Blackboard Connect, which is available, that we will get a communication to our neighbors so that they also know that December 17th there will be a dialogue and a conversation about the agreement, and we would encourage everyone to please come so that everyone is fully aware. We want to be transparent about the agreement. We want everyone to understand that basically, in exchange for the street, we are agreeing to the town. I don't like to say it's a facilities agreement, but the use of facilities that the town has in the past historically used here at our school, what we have given, they would like us to put in our agreement that we are going to go forward with the historical use that the town has had in the past. And when we say that, the last 2 summers, the camp has been here, the Rainbow Camp from the town has used the middle school, high school grounds, while Task has used Caudal, and use of our fields and our gym use. So it's in our agreement. It is not more than what the town had before. It is what the town was given historically. And it also is very, very clear that the use will only be granted when the facility is available after school use. So school usage always comes first, our students come first, our teams come first, and then whatever availability we have, we are happy to share with the town in exchange for the use that the town gives us of not only the ownership of the street, but facilities that we have from the town, such as Lake Isle Golf Course, tennis courts, Parkway Oval for our baseball team, Chester Heights softball. So it's a long-standing relationship. It is just specified a little more clearly in this agreement, and we just want the community to be aware of it and what it actually states. So that conversation will happen December 17th. We hope to have the resolution on the agenda, and after 6 long years, for one, I'm very happy to see it moving forward. So, anybody else have anything to say about that?
Just to clarify, this is the portion of Siwanoy Boulevard from Crawford Street all the way up to the first home that is adjacent to the Caudal playfield. So it is not the entire Siwanoy Boulevard, it is a portion of it outside of the Caudal Elementary School. And this is a tract of land that will enable 600 students to cross safely back and forth. They do multiple times a day. It's for phys ed, it's for recess, and also it gives us the ability where they can, as they did in past years, have recess out on the blacktop or, during inclement weather or when the field is wet. It gives us another option because Caudal has few options as far as where children can play outdoors.
Okay, so again, that's December 17th. We will send Blackboard Connect to our school community. We will also be in touch with our neighbors. We want to be a good neighbor, and we want to make sure that everybody knows what our intentions are moving forward. Okay, so that's it until December 17th, and we will see everybody then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.